Hello, my name is Brant Hunt. My challenge is Certainly What is True. Today is the 23rd day of March 2024. Going to be reading from a particular book called by Walter Russell, called The Secret of Light. I'm going to be reading from the Foreword and the Eternal Question, which is chapter 1. This is what the book looks like here. This book has been reprinted a few times. It's a hardback book. I got back in, I think it's 2019. So it's actually been about 5 years ago, not quite 5 years ago. So I'm going to be reading from this particular book. I do want to read a few quotes here into the particular book, or what I call preferences, or preference, I should say. So let's do that. The preface to the 1971 edition, he stated that the original volume of The Secret of Light was published in 1947. This current publication includes some modifications and amplifications that Dr. Russell made with regard to the particular volume prior to his refolding in 1963. Since The Secret of Light was released by Walter Russell, 1-year home studies course in universal law, natural science, and living philosophy, and all of the other books listed herein have been written and released, for the world is now fully ready and in great need of the new and basic knowledge contained in all these writings. This is from his wife, Leah. It continues on. The Divine Litigant is the basics of this book. Is an inspired message from the Creator to give man the needed comprehension of his relation to his universe, to man, and to God for the coming cycle. Man's progresses in cycles of approximately 2,500 years. At the beginning of each cycle of his growing awareness of the light within him, God sends messages through prepared messengers to further his comprehension of the light. Comprehension of these cosmic messages gradually exalt mankind into higher beings. And thus each cycle is one more step for man towards full awareness of the light and of his oneness with God. The Divine Litigant cannot be fully published for many years, as much of it can now be published will appear in these pages. Further portions of it will be released as the world is ready to receive them. This is from Walter Russell. And a preface to the 1994 edition, which maybe I should have looked at that and find out when this book was published. It says the 3rd edition, but it doesn't say what year it is published. For the University of Science and Philosophy. It says basically it's copyright 1947 by Walter Russell, but then it says also copyright in 71 and 1994. So this is obviously 1994 edition. So the preface to the 1994 edition, meaning from Walter Russell's classic masterpiece, has been edited to correct misspellings or grammatical errors and add several editor's notes. The preservation of the essence of Dr. Russell's thoughts and teaching has been foremost in our minds. Scientific investigations of Walter Russell ideas give the reward of deeper understanding into the nature of the universe and will serve as an inspiration and light into the next centuries. Technological application of his principles holds the promise of a non-polluting, sustainable energy future that is presently so desperately needed. It is with great hope and expectations for humanity's greater comprehension and use of the Secret of Life that we offer this updated edition. And let's continue here. He has a little quote here, and he just says, in the wave lies the secret of creation. This is what it looks like. He shows a picture of it. Which I would think this is simply could be comparable to what I call the black holes that we see. This is where all the creation takes place. Sort of similar to the seed in the soil, so to speak. He goes on, he says simply, Jesus said, God is light, end quote. And no man of that day knew what he meant. The day is now here when all men must know what Jesus meant when he said, God is light. For within the secret of light is vast knowledge yet unrevealed to man. Light is all there is. It is all we have to deal with. But we do not yet know what it is. The purpose of this message is to tell what it is. Today's civilization has advanced far in knowing how to deal with matter, but we do not know what matter is not, the why of it. Nor do we know what energy, electricity, magnetism, gravitation, and radiation are. Nor do we know the purpose of the inert gases and what they are. Nor do we know the structure of the elementary atoms, nor the gyroscope principles which determines that structure. Nor are we aware of the fact that this is a two-way continuous universe of balance in all efforts of motion and not a one-way discontinuous universe. Nor have we even yet heard of or suspected the most important of all principles is physics, the avoidance principle, and the mirrors and lenses of space, which are the causes of illusion in all moving things. Nor do we even consider the entire material electric universe to be the illusion which it is, there being no reality to it whatsoever, nor have we the slightest inklings of the cause of curvature of space, nor the avoidance of that curvature in planes, as PLANES, of zero curvature at wave field boundaries. No one now knows how it is that crystals get their various shapes. It will amaze the world to know that these shapes of crystals are determined in space by the shapes of the wave fields which bound the various elementary substructures. Nor have we the slightest conception of what constitutes the life principle, nor the principle of growth, nor the simultaneously unfoldment and refoldment principle, which repeats all patterns in nature subsequently and records and void them as they are repeated, I should say. Nor are we aware of that recording principle by means of which the Creator carries forth the sum total of every sequential cycle in his unfolding and refolding universe into the very end of it, manifestation upon one planet and its beginning on a new one. Now are we dynamically aware of the souls and seeds of things. These roots of universal repetition are now but metaphysical abstractions to religion and physical guesswork to science. Within the secret of light is an answer to all of these heretofore and unanswered questions and many more, which the ages have not yet solved. This revelation of the nature of life will be the inheritance of man in the coming new age of greater comprehension, that is. In its unfoldment will prove the existence of God by methods and standard acceptance to science and religion alike. It will lay a spiritual foundation under the present material one of science. The two greatest elements in civilization, religion and science, will thus find unity in marriage of the two. Likewise, human relationship will become more balanced because of greater knowledge of universal law, which lies behind all of the processes which light uses to interweave the pattern forms of this electric wave universe. There is no department of life which we will not be vitally affected by the new knowledge of the nature of light, from the universe to the laboratory, from government to industry, and from nation to nation. I therefore give it to you with all the clarity as I myself have become aware of from behind the scenes of the cosmic cinema of light illusion, which is our universe. Walter Russell. And so the question will be simply this, and I'll say one more thing here. He says also, I am the light, I alone am. What I am, thou art. Thou art the light, thou art one with me. Quote, man may know me by desiring to know me. That's the key, folks, right there. Desiring to know who God is, a desire, a deep desire. To know me is to be me. Through my light alone can man know me. Man is light when he knoweth that he is light. Man is me when he knoweth that he is me. All men will come to me in due time, but theirs is the agony of awaiting. This is from his book called From the Divine Litigate. And then he has one here simply. It's The Secret of Light, Part 1. All people is from the one on one side, and all people returning to the one on the right-hand side. And then the one being in the middle. Omniscience, or omniscient, we would say, the universe of knowing. So the question I'm going to go into here is chapter 1, the eternal question. And so I was reading from the book there, so I want to do it a different way here, make it a little easier for me to read. So thank you for being here. As I scroll down here to the point where I need to share. So the eternal questions to say from chapter 1, it says here, quote, who am I? What am I? Why am I? Whither am I bound? What is my relation to the universe, to man, and to God? What is truth? How am I to know truth? Whence cometh my power? What is the source of my power? How am I to find balance in my dealings with my fellow men or fellow man? How am I to know that balance in our interchange which will enrich both him and me? Countless are the religious teachings, and many are the commandments to goodness, but goodness is still veiled from my eyes like a thick mist, which hides thy light, which I vainly seek. End quote. Quote, I stumble in its darkness, unbalanced I fall. End quote. Another quote. O thou unseen one, tear from my eyes the blinding veil which hides the path to thy light, that I may find my way to thee. End quote. That is the cry of the ages. That is the unanswered question which is arising from the heart of this awakening generation. Civilization progresses, that is, in cycles. New comprehension periodically transforms mankind into higher beings. A new cycle of 3,000 years duration is now in its birth thrones, that is. God's omnipotence, omnipotence and omnipresence are centered in the consciousness of every man, but few there are who know of the oneness of their self-soul with the universal self-soul. Man acquires many millennia to begin to be aware of that. Each cycle of man brings him nearer to his awareness of his oneness with the light of his self-source. Man lives in a bewildered, complex world of effect, of which he knows not the cause, because of his seemingly infinite multiplicity and complexity. He fails to vision the simple underlying principle of balance in all things. He therefore complexes truth until its many angles, sides, and facets have lost balance with each other and with him. Truth is simple. Balance is simple. Redundant balance interchange between all pairs of opposite expressions in natural phenomenon and in human relations. It is the consummated art of God's universe of light. It is also the law. In this one fundamental universal law lies the balance continuality of all creative expressions in God's electric wave universe of two conditional lights in seeming motion, which record God's one whole idea of creation into countless seemingly separate parts of that whole idea. The next section is called The Voice Within. The great unanswered question of man has a simple answer. The silent voice within every man is ceaselessly whispering it to his awakening consciousness. Every desire written upon the heart of man is carried to the source, and its answer will come. But few there are who ask comprehensively, and fewer still who hear. Many are the ages of preparation for worthiness to hear it, for man's consciousness is insulated from his source by the sensation of his electrical conditioned body, which he wrongly thinks of as being his mind and his personal self. What he calls his objective human mind is but the seat of electric sensations of his body. What he mistakes for thinking is but an electrical awareness of things sensed and recorded within the cells of his brain for repetitive uses through what is termed, quote, memories, end quote. Memories have no more relation to knowledge of universal mind, which is in man, than Victoria records are related to the source of their recordings. What he thinks of as his living body is but an electrical motivated machine which simulates, I should say, life through motion, extended that is, to it from the centering self-soul, which alone lives and wills the body to move. What he calls his subjective mind is his consciousness, his spiritual storehouse of all knowledge, all power, and all presence. That consciousness is his self, his eternal self, through which he omnisciently, omnipresent, and omnipotence are expressed as he slowly becomes aware of their presence within him. The electrical oscillating nerve wires which operate his bodily mechanics act almost entirely through automatic reflexes and instinctive control, and to a very little extent through mental decisions. Each cell and organ of his body has electrical awareness of its purpose, and each fulfills that purpose without any mental action whatsoever upon the part of the intelligence which occupies that body. The heartbeat, for example, is purely automatic. The white corpuscles of the blood rush to repair an injury to the body as automatically as a bell rings when a button is pushed. In this body and its electric recording brain, man thinks that he thinks and lives, loves and dies. He thinks himself conscious while awake and unconscious when sleeping, unaware that in all nature there is no such condition as unconsciousness when sensations cease in sleep. Man does not say that his tooth is unconscious when it is put to sleep by short-circuiting the electric current in the nerve wire, which gives sense electrical awareness to his tooth. He knows that his tooth cannot be conscious, but he does not know that his body cannot be conscious. Nor does he yet know that consciousness never sleeps, never changes, for consciousness in man is his immortality. It is the light which he is unknowingly seeking, but assumes that the sensation of his brain is his thinking. Man is still new. He is barely out of the dark of his jungle. For the million or more years of his unfolding, he has relied, upon sensation for his actions and the evidence of his senses for his knowing. He has been aware of the spirit in him only a very few thousands of years. In this beginning of his new awareness, he is confused, knowing not which is mind in him, which is consciousness in him, and which is sensation. He has not yet learned that bodies are but self-created mechanisms which manifest their centered self, and that self manifested God as one with it. Likewise, he has not yet learned that bodies neither live nor die, but repeat themselves continuously and forever, as all idea of mind likewise repeats itself. The wheel, for example, is a mechanism consisting of a hub, a spokes, and a rim. A little part of the wheel touches the ground, feels it, then leaves it, to disappear from reach of the sensation which connect rim, spokes, and ground. But then it reappears. When this happens to man, we say, quote, he was born, lived, and died, end quote. When it happens to the apple, the flame, or the tree, we say, that is, quote, the apple was eaten, the flame has gone out, and the tree has decayed, end quote. We say that because only a small part of the cycle of any idea comes within the range of our senses. The larger part of the cycle is beyond our range of perception, just as the larger part of the wheel is beyond the sense perception of the ground. We do not yet know that the invisible part of the cycles of all idea is as continuous as the wheel is continuous. The cycle of the apple is light reaching from the sun and earth to that positive half of the apple cycle, which we hold in our hand. The negative half of the cycle is light returning to sun and earth for repetition as another manifestation of the eternal idea of the apple. The same is true of the flame, the tree, or any other part of the one whole idea of creation. The flame, that is, quote, goes out, end quote, to our sensing, but it is still is. Likewise, the tree, the forest, the mountain, the planet, and nebula of the far heavens appear, disappear, as surely reappear. Likewise, man appears to disappear and reappear again and again in countless cycles to express eternal life of the spirit in eternal repetitions of that part of the man cycle which the body of man can sense. Man never dies. He is as continuous as eternity is continuous. Jesus rightly says that man shall not see death, for there is no death to see or to know. Likewise, the body of man does not live, and having never lived, it cannot die. So what he's saying simply is this is a framework for you to use, the body, that where your spirit is contained inside. The spirit alone lives. The body but manifests the spirit. That which we think of as life in the spirit of man manifests itself by willing the body to act. Actions thus made by the body under the command of his centering soul have no motive, power, or intelligence in themselves. They are but machines motivated by an omniscient and omnipotent intelligence extended to them. These things we do not yet know, for man is in his infancy. He is but beginning to know the light. The next section is simply, be you forever transformed. Man is forever seeking the light to guide him on that long, tortuous road which leads from his body jungle to the mountaintop of his awakening soul. So when he's given his illustration simply is that the jungle itself is basically in some ways chaos, or not knowing who you are. And your whole idea is to go and get up on the mountain. So this is a illustration. And you being on the mountaintop, now you can see all things. So you have a complete different perspective. And that's what he says simply of his awakening soul. You see, it gives you a foresight, it gives you sight to know that what is around you. Now you can see where you were in the jungles and somewhat confused and lost. Man is forever finding that light and is being forever transformed as he finds it. And as he finds it, he gradually finds the self of him, which is the light. And as he becomes more and more transformed by the God light of the awakening self within him, he leaves the jungle further below him in the dark. There are those who seek the light who are discouraged because they seemingly cannot find it, wholly unaware that they have forever been finding it. Unknowing ones expect to find it all at once to some blinding flash of all power or all knowledge and all presence, like a big boom. It does not come that way, you see, until one is nearing his mountaintop. Man cannot hear much of the light at a time while his body is still new and too near to the jungle. All who are well out of the jungle have already found enough of the light to illuminate their way out of its dark depths. He who is far out of the jungle and still seeks the light in the high heavens is forever finding it and is forever being transformed as he finds it. One cannot for one moment remove his seeking eyes from his high heaven. Forever, so slight a glimpse below into the dark brings him back to the fears of the dark, which tempt him to plunge back into them. Look ye, therefore, forever upward into the high heavens of inspiration, where glory awaits the fearless, all-knowing seeker of beauty in the purity of the universal light. To him whose eyes are in the high heavens, The light will forever come, and he will be forever transformed as he finds it. The dark road from his jungle to his mountaintop of glory becomes ever more illuminated during the ascent from body to spirit. It is hard, but glorious road to climb. All must make the climb. The ascent of man from the dark to the light is the forever repetitive play of man on the planets of suns. When all mankind has found the light, the play will be finished. Likewise, this planet will be finished as an abode for man. It will then be rolled off into ever-expanding orbit while Venus is gradually being rolled into place to become the stage for the next repetition of the ascent of man in the solar system. We actors of the play must therefore be content with the lines of the play revealed to each of us in light. We must likewise be ever joyous at our continuous transformation, at each one of us learns our part line by line, the better to fulfill it wordily. All parts of the play are experienced which become the action of the play. All man's experience are part of his unfolding. Each experience is a part of his journey from the dark to the light. All experiences are steps in that journey to the mountaintop of glory. All experiences, therefore, are good experiences. You see, that he's saying all experiences right here simply are good experiences. And we have a problem with that sometimes when we see things that don't go our way. We take it as a bad experience. And so the makeup here is simply no, all of it's good. Okay? So it's a perspective. There is naught but good. There is no evil. There is naught but life. There is no death. And then he gives some quotes here. I am the one, whole, the all. Again, these are all quotes. Glorify thy me, the one whom I am, for I am all and no other is. I, the sexless one, am unity. So he's speaking of God. What I am, thou art, for thou art me. Thou art the whole. So God is saying very clearly that you're part of the whole right here. That's what he's saying. Glorify thou thyself, for in so doing thou art glorifying me. I, the one whole, am knowing mine. I exist to think. All thinking is light of my knowing, but my thinking is not me. I am creator, creating with my thinking. Out of my light of knowing are my two lights of thinking, born as sex pairs of opposites for repetition, as sex pairs of opposites. To think is to create. I create with light. Nothing is which is not light. Quote, I think idea. Light registers my idea in the two sex lights of my thinking, and form is born in the image of my thinking. From form hath no existence, nor have my imagining. These exist not, for they are not me. I alone existed, I the all. I create my imagined body with the inbreathing of my pulsing universe of me. My universe is my image, but my image is not me. Quote. Well, these are all quotes, okay, so all things are my image, but they are not me, even though I am in them and they in me, end quote. So this is a quote from the Divine Iliad. And we're going to conclude here. This is chapter 1, and we'll get to chapter 2 in a little while. So again, this is just sharing with you guys what I'm seeing here from this particular book, The Secret of Light by Walter Russell. This is reading from the foreword part. It is the foreword that actually shares, giving you an illustration, the balance, such to speak, and then the eternal question, what is my purpose here? My purpose is to go to the mountain and to use my framework, such as to think, to begin to know, and to pursue these things and not be in fear. Again, We live in trying times right now, and we must not fall into fear because fear presents itself as doubt. So again, this is the first chapter. Appreciate you being here. I hope that you have ears to hear and eyes to see. And thank you, and you have a good evening.